Do you think that Bruno Fernandes was the right choice to be Manchester United captain? Hasn't been the best start of the season for them, of course. That 1-0 win over Wolves, which, let's be honest, they shouldn't have got. And then the 2-0 loss to Spurs.
The first question you got to ask in this debate is who instead? And when I think about that, Man United, who?
Well,
who are the candidates?
Casemiro, Varane?
I don't know. I think that when you appoint a captain, you want someone that A, is going to be an ever-present. And in Varane's case, you can't say that. His fitness has let him down since he's joined Manchester United. Mm-hmm. Even prior to that, even during his time at Real Madrid. Casemiro spends a fair amount of time suspended. That's another person that
is a great reason.
Ever-present.
Well, Roy Keane got a lot of red cards, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a
great captain.
Man United never used to get red cards under Sir Alex Ferguson. So no, not as many as Casemiro will get. Who are the other candidates? Maybe Marcus Rashford.
Yeah,
is that an option?
Good shout.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Another player that you could throw into the mix is Lisandro Martinez, but again, he's pretty new to the club. The reason I'm not so against it being Bruno Fernandes is because I don't think there's another outstanding candidate. It's not like I can look and I can say, well, it should be definitely X and not Bruno Fernandes. He has been their best player, arguably, over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. He's dragged them through some difficult situations. There are question marks about the way he conducts himself. I think he's one of those players that if he plays for your team, you love him, but if he's on the opposition side, you can't stand him. He's always in referees' faces. He's always protesting. He's always claiming for this, that and the other.
Do you think that's how a captain should behave?
I think a captain should stand up for his team and should put his points across to the referee and should, to a degree, be trying to influence the referee. I know people don't ever want to say that, but ultimately, that's partly what a captain is there to do. Mm. And we get this thing now where referees will only speak to captains. Well, if your captain can't put a compelling case and can't apply some pressure on the official, then maybe he's not the right person. I just don't think there's another standout candidate. I really don't. If I were a United fan, I wouldn't be thrilled with the idea of Bruno Fernandes being my captain. But when you look at the other options, then I don't think it's a wild decision.
Yeah. The other question, though, Harry, right, is, and I was thinking about this the other day, do you think that the captaincy of a club nowadays matters as much as it did in the past? We just mentioned Roy Keane there. You think about John Terry. You think about some of the other captains we've had in the past, Patrick Vieira as well for Arsenal. I mean, those were the days where being the captain and having a really strong captain seemed to be one of the most important decisions that a manager was going to make. Do you think it matters as much now?
I don't think it's as important as it was back in the day. I just don't. And I also think the role of a captain has changed.
In what way? How do you think it's changed?
In the way of, I think a captain of a football club now is more an ambassador of the football club than necessarily the sole on-field leader. So somebody like Martin Odegaard at Arsenal, right? He isn't going to go around beating his chest. He isn't going to go around shouting at people, shaking people up when they're not doing their job. He's vocal, but the reason he is the captain is because he is the one that best understands what Mikel Arteta wants his team to do. And he is seen as the best man to communicate that.
Would you prefer it as a fan if he was the captain that was going around shaking people up and getting you back in the game, or if you were behind or not performing well enough?
I'd rather he picks up the ball and goes and puts it in the top corner than goes around and shouts at somebody for not doing their job. And this is the difference. This is how the view of captains has changed over the years. Now the game is so complex, so tactical. You want someone that can put your instructions across, and you want someone that your players look at in times of difficulty and think, he can win me a match. In the past, you talk about centre-backs, you talk about defensive midfielders doing that job, and that made a lot of sense because it was about organisation. Now, if I'm playing in a side and we're struggling, I want to look at someone and go, he can win me this match. That's why Messi became a captain. That's why Cristiano Ronaldo became a captain. Best players in the world, granted, but because they have that ability of inspiring and in a different way to how Patrick Vieira used to inspire, how John Terry used to inspire. I just think it's a different generation and the game's changed, and there's no right or wrong. I just think the modern day coach sees a captain's role as being quite different.
We seem to have moved into this new era as well of leadership groups.
Yeah,
I mean that's been a new thing that's come about. I think Liverpool they've got Van Dijk as a captain, but there's Salah, Trent, Robertson, and Alisson all in this kind of group together. Spurs have done it as well. Son's now the captain, but there's Maddison and a couple of other players I think in their leadership group as well. What do you make of that? Should it be one person?
It's a load of nonsense. Leadership group. Unai Emery tried to do this at Arsenal, and it was embarrassing as far as I'm concerned. For me, every single player should take responsibility for their own performance and want to shoulder the responsibility of the team as a collective's performance. There shouldn't be a group of people that are held responsible. Everyone, you're all professional footballers. You're all on incredible salaries. You're all responsible for the outcome. And I think if you create these leadership groups, you marginalise people. Yeah. I think it should be everyone. Everyone shoulder the responsibility.
I agree, but also I feel like if you are the captain, you should shoulder the responsibility if your team loses as well. I think not as much as the manager, but there should be an element where there's one representative of the players taking on board the fact that they are ultimately responsible for what happened on the pitch.
But again, that's where the modern day is different. Player power means that if you're a centre forward and your left back makes a mistake, you're not going to want to go in the dressing room and get a blast in. You're not going to have it. You're going to fight back. What I think a captain's role probably is now and should be is that, for example, when your team suffers a bad defeat, you should be the one that fronts up to the media. You should be the one that has to explain, that has to front up to the fans. That, for me, is the kind of leadership that I think you need from a captain. Everything else is down to everyone. And, yeah, your captains will be highlighted first and foremost. And football fans of our generation look at captaincy different. Like, I've got a cousin who's quite a bit younger than me and he's really into football. And when I say, when we talk about captains, it's always like, well, he's the best player, he should be the captain. The mentality's changed. It's changed, whether we like it or not.